This is the Year 10 Linear Relationships on page 22, set 7, question 1a. It says write down the equation of the line that is parallel to the x-axis and passes through the point P of coordinates 4 and 3. I'm going to draw a quick sketch of the Cartesian plane. Okay, now you have a point which is 4 and 3. So this is 4, that's 3. Now, a line that is parallel to the x-axis and pass through that point 4 and 3 will look like this. The question is asking you, what is the equation of this line that is parallel to the x-axis and pass through the point 4 and 3? So this line, the equation of this line is y is equal to 3. No matter what value of x you put into here, the y is always going to equal to 3. You can even think of it like this. This is a table of values, so imagine if you have x equals to 1, 2, 3, 4. No matter what value of x, y is going to equal to 3. Okay? So your answer is y is equal to 3. The next one, the x, so let's look at question C here. X parallel to the x-axis and pass through the points 7 and minus 9. So draw a quick diagram again. X, y, 0, okay. 7 is about here, minus 9 is about here. So this is your point T, 7 minus 9. A line that passes through this point and is parallel to the x-axis will look like this. And so the equation of this line is y equals to minus 9. Now what happens if it's parallel to the y-axis? So you can imagine that's going to be just parallel to the vertical axis, and it has to pass through the point, in this case, minus 5 and 2. So pass through this point here. So I'm going to draw a line that is parallel to that. Looks like this. So what's the equation of this line? The equation of this line is x is equal to minus 5. Okay. Let's go to the question, 4a. Let's look at this one. It says find the equation of a line that is parallel to y equals 2x plus 5. Now, we learned that when two lines are parallel, their gradient is going to be the same. So the gradient of this equation, we can see that it's 2. Okay, so y equals to mx plus b. M is the gradient, so you can see that this is m. This is your gradient. So the gradient of our next line is also going to have a gradient. The equation of our next line is going to have a gradient of 2 as well, because they're parallel. And it says it cuts the y-axis at 1. When it says it cuts the y-axis, that's your y-intercept, isn't it? So y is equal to mx plus b. Your m is going to equal to 2. And your b is your y-intercept, which is your plus 1, as it says there. So there's your equation. Let's look at something a bit harder. Let's try question C. Now, we want a line that is parallel to this one. This one has a gradient of 3, so your m here is equal to 3. So we want y equals to have the same gradient, so it's also going to have 3x plus b. Your y-intercept is 6. B is your y-intercept, so that means y is equal to 3x plus 6. There's your answer. Okay. That's it. Oh, let's look at D. Now, D, y equals to minus x. Now, minus x, we have no y-intercept for this one, and we have a gradient of minus 1. So that means the gradient of this line here is minus 1. Okay. So we want another line that's parallel to this, which means this next line should also have a gradient of -1. So let's just write y equals to -1x plus b. B is your y-intercept, and it's given to us that the y-intercept is -4. So b equals to -4. So y is equal to -x minus 4, and that's your answer there. Okay. Moving on to the next page, we'll go to set 8. And the question is for question 4. It's a 4a. It says find the equation of the line that is perpendicular. Now for lines to be perpendicular, their gradient must multiply to equal to -1. So let's say we have the first line, m1, and we have the second line, m2. These are the gradients of, sorry, m1 is the gradient of the first line and m2 is the gradient of the second line. Their gradient must multiply equals to -1. If we rearrange this equation, you can say that m2, the gradient of the second line, is equal to -1 over m1. Okay, so let's use this one. So what's the gradient of the first line? So here you have y equals to x plus 4. You can tell the gradient is equal to 1. Okay, the number in front of the x is just this is 1 there. So therefore, m1 is equal to 1. So what's m2? m2 is equal to -1 over 1. So that's equal to -1. So that means the gradient of our line has to equal to -1. And it says it cuts the x-axis at 2. Now when it says it cuts the x-axis, again, this is your y-intercept, also known as the b in y equals mx plus b. So y equals to mx plus b, which means y is equal to -x plus 2. And there's your answer. Let's look at question C. Let's do another one. So it says it has to be perpendicular to this equation. So let's find out what the gradient of this equation is. The gradient m1 is equal to what? 1 over 6. It's the coefficient of x. In this case, it's positive 1 over 6. So m2 has to equal to -1 over m1. So, and that is equal to -1 over 1 over 6. Okay, what this means is -1 divided by 1 over 6. When you divide it by 1 over 6, it means you times it by 6 over 1. And that will give you -6. So the gradient of our new line has to have a gradient of -6. Now, what's the y-intercept? They give us the y-intercept here. The y-intercept of -1. So that means your b is going to equal to -1. So y equals to mx plus b. M is equal to -6. So that means, that means that y is equal to -6x minus 1. Plus or minus 1 is just -1. So y equals to -6x minus 1, and that's your answer. There you go. Let's look at the next one as well. Let's just do this one. Okay, so this one you might have to rearrange the equation. Or actually you don't really need to, but if you can recognize that the coefficient of the x is your gradient, you can tell that the m1 here is going to equal to -1 over 5. Or if you rearrange the equation, you can say y is equal to -1/5 x plus 4. If you know how to rearrange that. Okay. Either way, the gradient of this line is going to be equal to -1/5. So the gradient of our second line, m2, is equal to -1 over m1, which equals to -1 over -1 over 5. So what that means is -1 divided by -1/5. And what that means is -1 times it by 5 over 1, or -5 over 1. Minus times a minus is a plus, so that's just equal to 5. So that means the gradient of our second line must equal to 5. Now our y-intercept is 8. That's your b. So b equals to 8. So therefore y is equal to 5x plus 8. And that's your answer. Okay, hope that helps.